This is a clip of my 8:30 class, which, if everyone attended, should be full. But as you can see, it is not full. It's basically empty. So where are these people? They're asleep. Let's learn how to actually wake up earlier and not be like those people. So last year, I took data structures 3 times a week. I had an 8:30 class, and unfortunately, I didn't really go to much. I gave up pretty quickly. I really realized that I couldn't wake up for those classes. This year, I've got another course similar where I've got 3 8:30 courses in the morning. However, I attend 75% of classes now. So sure, I don't have a perfect track record, but I've really improved from like 3% to 75%. And through personal experiments I've done on myself to get to those 8:30 classes, I've learned a lot about how you can manipulate yourself and different strategies you can implement to actually get you to wake up at those times that you want. So the first tip is going to bed earlier. So the way the brain works is that you wake up naturally at the end of REM cycles. You usually do 2 REM cycles, and the times when the REM is over and between another cycle starting is when you naturally wake up. So if you wake up in the middle of a REM sleep cycle, then no matter really what you do, you'll wake up pretty much feeling like shit. So the trick is to figure out when you need to go to sleep so that the time you want to wake up at matches with when your REM cycle finishes. So you can figure out pretty easily how long you need to sleep every night. You just go to bed one night, record the time you go to bed at, record the time you get up at, and then do a subtraction, and then you've got figured out the amount of time that you need to sleep per night. So for most people, this is 8 hours. It might not be depending on who you are, but now that you've got how long you need to sleep, you just need to subtract that amount of hours from the time you want to wake up at, and that's the time you should be going to sleep at. Now remember, if you say you're trying to wake up at 7 and you've got 8 hours of sleep, so you go to bed at 11, if you go to bed at 11, most likely that won't happen because you're forgetting that you've got a bunch of things that you're probably forgetting, washing your teeth, putting your PJs on, etc. So if you are trying to wake up at 7, you need 8 hours, go to bed at 10:30, give yourself that buffer. This advice is really crucial because if your alarm wakes you up in the middle of a REM sleep cycle, what's going to happen is you're going to wake up. Yes, you're going to feel like crap. Make sure to go to bed earlier because that is the biggest tip for this. Number 2, setting one alarm. Let me ask you a question. Take a look at the clip on the screen right now. Have you seen this type of thing before where you've got frequent alarms spaced out, let's say like 5-minute intervals, and you've probably seen people just go through one, snooze or turn it off, and just go to the next one, and each time they're hoping they're going to get up. That unfortunately takes away a big factor of actually forcing you to get out of bed, which is the risk element. You need to have pressure, because if you just have one alarm and you turn it off and you go back to sleep, you have no idea when you're going to wake up. Therefore, that avoids you going back to sleep. You're forced to get up and actually deal with your alarm. So that was my first tip for alarms, and I've actually found that alarms can be used in many other ways to get you out of bed. Second one, you can utilize the fact that an alarm is annoying. It's just annoying. It's annoying for you, it's annoying for everyone else in your house. So if you put the alarm away from your bed, let's say on the complete other side of your room, you're forcing yourself to get up in the morning to go actually turn off that alarm. And once you're actually up, usually you have a hard time just going back to sleep. You might as well just get started, right? Last tip for alarms. I know you might not like this one, but try to choose an alarm noise that you don't like. An alarm noise that really, really ticks you off. Now, sure, you could say and you could argue that it's going to make you grumpy in the morning, but honestly, you can guarantee that's going to get you up. I remember showcasing my alarm in a day in the life of computer science video, which I'll link here. Yeah, people didn't like that. So my third advice is make it easy. In the morning, if you're trying to figure out exactly what to do and you're trying to plan everything in the morning, then you're making it much harder for yourself. It's easier to actually set yourself a morning routine, not a morning routine, but a wake-up routine to know exactly what you're doing when that alarm rings. For me, I know when the alarm rings, I go turn off that alarm, I check my calendar, I take my Kindle, I go downstairs, I eat breakfast, and then I'm usually set to go. And that guarantees that in the morning, I kind of just know what to do. I'm just on autopilot. Being on autopilot is so much more easier than the amount of time that you waste trying to think, okay, what should I do? And also, most of that time will probably be just on your phone. I know that before I set myself this morning routine, I would just basically go on my phone for 20 minutes, deal with notifications, and that was a really big waste of my time. My fourth advice is being consistent. Right now, it's probably hard for you to go to bed at 11 because you're used to going to bed at like 2? So the first few times that you go to bed at 11 is going to be hard. But if you become consistent, it'll become easier and easier to do, to the point where your body naturally starts getting tired at that time. And at that point, you don't even have to think about it. Your body's going to tell you to go to bed. It's going to tell you, hey, I'm tired, let's hit that bed. So you want to be consistent and actually get yourself to that time where your body is driving you on autopilot. If you don't even have to think about when you have to go to bed, you just follow your instincts and just wake up at the time, wouldn't that make it much easier than that frustration of, oh, I can't sleep, and then you just end up procrastinating on your phone, all that stuff? Right now, you're already technically doing this. You've already got a time where you naturally feel asleep. You naturally start going to bed at that time. So you just need to change that hour to the time that we calculated earlier. So my last tip is be realistic. I don't know if you guys remember, but I made a morning routine video, my first video, and there I showcased me waking up at 6 a.m. Was that fun? Arguable. Was it a flex? Most definitely. Is it realistic for me now? Not at all. So I live in a frat house. The guys go to bed from 12 to 2 a.m. It's kind of hard for me to say I'll go to bed at 10 because there's so much happening. So instead, I've become more realistic, and I just wake up at kind of the bare minimum time. I go to bed at 12:30, and so I understand that I have to wake up around 8:30. So if you're in the same kind of situation and you have friends or people around you who are going to bed very late, understand that while yes, in the short term you might be able to convince yourself to go to bed earlier, but in the long term you won't. So start being realistic. Don't set yourself a crazy time. I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and do crazy morning routines. That'll usually end up in a flop, and you'll be back where you were, which is procrastinating and sleeping late, right? In any case, for whatever you do, you have to understand that to wake up earlier, you got to sacrifice something. So it's up to you to decide if you want to sacrifice whatever you're doing in that time where you're up late. So there you have it. Those are my 5 tips on how you can improve your sleep schedule and you can actually wake up much earlier. These 5 tips, I've tried to make them as broad as possible so that they can be applied to anyone's life. If you have any questions or you want to know how to specifically implement it in your life, let me know in the comments, or you can message me on Instagram, whatever you want. If you like this video, think about subscribing and liking if that's what you're into. If you're like this life design type of video, that's basically all the stuff I make on my YouTube channel, so you can just go browse that and see if there's anything that you might find useful. In any case, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.